Jesus is a teacher unlike anyone else. Jesus didn't lecture, Jesus didn't debate, but he told stories. And these stories feel simple until they hit you over the head like a sledgehammer because it's a spiritual ambush from these stories. Jesus used around 40 parables across the three synoptic gospels to teach about the kingdom of heaven. And every one of them carried hidden truths wrapped in our everyday life. And he used seed, sheep, money, family to explain these stories. But the twist was a twist. These stories aren't comfortable sometimes. They can be very uncomfortable once you've figured out what they mean, and they were disruptive at the time. Should be disruptive today for us as well. Um, but hey, this is Rod with RA Salt and Silver. Today we're starting a new series on the parables of Jesus. So today is just kind of an overview of why he taught with parables, what the parables kind of do, and just some highlighting of a few of the parables along the way. I'm going to go through all the parables a little more in depth, excuse me, over the next few weeks, and we'll go from there. But today it is Sunday, July the 5th, 2026. It's a steamy morning here in Central Florida. But I want to thank everyone for the comments, the likes, the shares, the subscribing. That helps get the word out to more people, and more people get to hear about Jesus. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into it. So parables could be shocking, right? So the shepherd, he leaves the 99 sheep to get the one. A heretic becomes the hero of the day. And then there were some workers who barely got paid or barely worked, and they got paid the same as those who labored all day. So these stories draw the illusion of comfort, but then subvert our expectations because they normally have a twist. Because Jesus wasn't just teaching in these stories, he was confronting. He was flipping the world upside down to reveal what his kingdom really looks like. And, the story of the Good Samaritan, I think everyone knows that or has heard that story. But I think a lot of times we miss the oomph of that story, the shock and awe, if you will. The priest walked by, the Levite walked by. But then there was an outsider, the enemy, the heretic, and he becomes the example of love. The only person in the story who does what Jesus says to do is the actual Samaritan, the heretic. And Jesus wasn't just saying, be kind. He was saying, your enemy might be the one who obeys God better than you do, better than I do. That's the power of a parable. It exposes our hearts. And then the disciple asked him directly, why do you speak in parables? Well, Jesus answered, the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. Though seeing, they do not see, and though hearing, they do not hear or understand. So these parables reveal the truth to the humble. They'll hide the truth from the proud. They separate listeners from disciples, the crowds from the followers, and the curiosity from the surrender. Well, Jesus didn't invent the art of the parable, but he did perfect them. Nathan, the prophet, used parables to expose David's sins in the Old Testament, and Isaiah used a vineyard to reveal Israel's rebellion. And then Jesus continued and subverted traditions, turning the familiar into shocking revelation. In his stories, those outsiders become the heroes, the devout become the villains, and grace offends the religious. And the kingdom arrives through mercy, meekness, forgiveness, and serving, not what you thought was coming from the king or what they thought was coming from the king, right? And then the parables give us a powerful warning. Familiarity can blind us. We already think we know the meanings, but these parables are designed to surprise us. It says the best way to read them, or I would say the best way to read them is to slow down, look for that twist. What does that twist reveal about God's kingdom? And then the most important part is, where do I fit it in the story? Which character do I play? Because these parables weren't just meant to inform, they're not a history book, but they're meant to transform. They expose the gap between our way of seeing the world and the way Jesus sees the world. And Jesus didn't just tell stories to entertain, to get an audience. He told stories to awaken us, to confront us, to reveal us, and then to divide the truth from an illusion. Every parable is an invitation to see the kingdom of God, to hear the king, to let his words take root in good soil that produces true transformation. The question is, or I should say, the question isn't, do you understand the story? The question is, did the story change you? Thanks for listening. This is Rod, and I'll see you in the next one.